Today we have a first look at the new time rift events in World of Warcraft. I'm on the 10.1.5 PTR, so that being said, everything here that you see is a test build and subject to change, but let's dive right in. The time rifts should feel familiar to you. Think about the Grand Hunts, the Siege of Dragonbane Keep, the Researchers Under Fire, and the Soup. It's all basically the same. The general lore behind the time rifts is that the time waves have gotten timey-wimey and wibbly-wobbly and all that other fun stuff, and so a bunch of other timelines are crashing into ours. It feels very Doctor Who, or feels like the current Marvel Cinematic Universe. What you wind up seeing ultimately are some cool alternate storylines and nice character cameos. These time rifts occur once an hour, and when they do, you'll get a series of tasks to complete to get yourself Temporal Essence, Reputation with Soridormi, and Paracausal Flakes. Paracausal Flakes are a currency used to purchase collectibles, cosmetics, and mounts. Wait, where does that sound familiar? Hey there, Rotan here. I make to-the-point videos about World of Warcraft, helping people obtain collectibles, cosmetics, and mounts that they want easily and quickly. If that sounds like a fun time, subscribe. Anyway, the temporal essence you get is similar to the aroma points from the big soup in the Azure span. You can level up your reward by doing well, and other players' progress also chips in. The tasks that I saw in my first time rift were as follows. I started off cleaning up oil spills, which required me to spam the extra action button when it was available, and maybe an enemy would spawn or maybe not. That one was pretty easy. I also had a few different tasks come up telling me just to kill as many of a certain enemy type as I could within a given time limit. That's pretty easy too. Right after, I had to waste cannonballs. Nice. You grab the cannonball item, it makes you walk as if you're a drunk. You hop inside the cannon and you spam the button until you complete the task. Now we're back to 30 seconds of mindless murder. Now this one here to destroy the flamethrowers was really stumping me because they weren't targetable and there was nothing nearby. I'm trying to attack. I even go to grab a gun item because I'm thinking maybe that'll work. Nope. Alright, let's just go to another flamethrower. Maybe that one's glitched. Ah, we got some weird eggs here. Maybe those will... No. Oh, how about killing this drone next to it? No, that's not doing anything either. I was truly stumped at this point until that happened. Wait, so the answer was just to walk over them? Okay. Really? What, are we sure? I guess so. Wish that would have been more obvious. So each time you complete one of these events, you get some extra rep and some extra paracausal flakes. We'll cover my final bounty of paracausal flakes at the end, but I wound up doing about 5 to 6 of these smaller events before the timer ran out, and the last task before it ends is just to kill anything at all. After the timer runs out, the event enters its final phase. A portal spawns in the center, which sends you into an alternate timeline. The loading screen is the Caverns of Time loading screen, appropriately enough. I wound up in the Warlands, an alternate timeline wherein the Horde and Alliance are stuck in an eternal raging war that never chilled out. While in current WoW they still aren't the best of friends, it just ain't like before. To really add some impact, the final boss here is Varian Wrynn, the High King of the Great Glorious Alliance. It seems like in this timeline, because Varian never died, the war between the Horde and the Alliance rages worse than ever before. I wonder how that would have played out with the whole Shadowlands existence-ending villain on the horizon. Would we have had enough allegiance and manpower to overcome, or would we have failed? Makes you think differently about his death. So we kill him again, and the event is over. Sadly, this was super glitched out for me, and I couldn't get back to my corpse after I died, so this PTR character is lost forever. You win some, you lose some. So I decided I'm going to run another time rift an hour later, and this time it was Murloc and Mechagnome themed. I had to solve some paradoxes, which are these cool little matching minigames, and then kill Murlocs and Murloc bosses and kill Mechagnomes and all that over again before the main portal opened again. In place of the Warlands this time, we went to a.z.e.r.o.t.h. Not normal a.z.e.r.o.t.h, it's just a long abbreviation. I wonder what it stands for. It's the Mechagnome version. It looks like this is a timeline where King Mechagon reigns supreme. I'm impressed overall with these ending fights as they aren't snooze fest. You actually have to do the mechanics and pay attention to survive, which I didn't last time. So in total, over both runs, I got around 300 to 400 flakes each time and barely any reputation at all with soridormi. The box from the event gave some flakes and some rep, and, well, that's it. So really, to get any of the collectibles or mounts, prepare to farm these time rifts hardcore, like 20 to 30 times per mount. Hopefully the epic reward box gives a lot of rep and flakes, which will take that farming down. So finally, let's take a look at all the vendor goodies from this area in the PTR. I'm not sure if these vendors will stick around here in this area, but something tells me these are like PTR vendors and it'll be a little bit different in the actual live version, but maybe I'm wrong. So this part's going to be a slightly more unscripted, and we're going to go through the 8 different vendors that you see here for the 8 different time rifts. One of the things I wanted to call out right away is that there's both a bronze Dragonflight and an infinite Dragonflight version of the Zerlek Cavern questing armor coming out in the next patch. Right here you can see the bronze Dragonflight armor set, and some of the weapons that you'll see are actually infinite Dragonflight related, like this one-handed axe here, as well as that inevitable claymore. I assume that the rest of the infinite Dragonflight armor set is going to actually come with the release of the Mega Dungeon. You can see here how many paracausal flakes each one of these items costs, along with other materials as well. Baron Silver is Death Knight themed, as you can see not only by what he looks like, but because he's the az.e.r.o.t.h vendor and all of his things are Death Knight related. While I haven't seen this time rift yet, I assume it's a timeline where the Scourge take over, the Lich King wins, and this is what az.e.r.o.t.h would look like in that case. A lot of the items are very reminiscent of Wrath of the Lich King with new color schemes, and interestingly enough, there's an Ebon Blade Commendation badge, so I wonder where this reputation is going to be used or why it's being brought back as being important. We also have a pet here, and quickly we'll move on to Gil the Drill. Now this comes from the a.z.e.r.o.t.h version of az.e.r.o.t.h that I showed you. That's a weird sentence to say. Essentially the Mechanome version where King Mechagon reigns supreme, and everything as you'd expect in this scenario is very Mechanome themed, very clockwork, very mechanical. This is another example where not only do we have a cool mount, but we have another insignia for reputation. I wonder why these reps are going to be important. Now we have Sir Finley Murgleton, which is from the Murloc version of the world, which doesn't have much, but they do have, obviously, a reference to Thunderfury, and Gildan as a pet, which you couldn't see very well. This seems to be Demon Hunter themed at this vendor, Falara Nightsong, where you can see that we have one of the cutest little rubble pets right there, as well as a lot of Legion themed, a lot of Demon Hunter themed items, as if the Fel or the Demon Hunters had taken over this kind of world. You can see there's also a Legion Fall insignia there on the very bottom right as the final item, which just kind of goes to show that they're bringing back these old reps, and there's gotta be a reason. I know I've said it 3 times now, but it's there. The az'qroth vendor is old god themed based on the random apostrophes and the overuse of the letter Q. The bat pet also gives it away as being old god themed as well. As you can see, the weapons are all kind of old god, or I guess it would be kind of like bug or crustacean themed, which is very reminiscent of everything old god. And another interesting thing to call out is that every single one of these vendors seems to have a very unique trinket that's related to their timeline. The Warlands vendor, we also saw the Warlands today, and it's everything related to Alliance and Horde fighting each other. So this is where we get that Swift White Warwolf mount that I like so much, as well as the Warmonger's battle gear. I assume for the Alliance they'd get the Griffin as well as their version of the PvP gear. Now we're on to the Olderoth vendor, which is interesting because Sorodis is our vendor, who's already an NPC that's in Valdrakken. Everything here is kind of like Titan themed, which I guess would make sense. Ulduar is obviously, and Uldaman are obviously both Titan structures. Olderoth sounds like if the Titans took over, essentially, rather than it going the way that it did. Weird, though, that the gold-toed albatross is the mount for them. And that's the last of the vendors. The 9th one there is just a standard blacksmithing vendor, so not much to see. So that was a longer one for us today. Thanks for sticking around and taking a look at the new time rifts with me that are coming in the next patch. They seem like a ton of fun. I'm going to have a bunch of fun going through each timeline and seeing what's going on with each of them and trying to get some of these unique mounts. Thank you all for watching, and take care.